meeting will come to order. Please stand for a pledge of allegiance and a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Braunlich. Here. Councilman Camello. Councilwoman Coder.
Here.
Councilwoman Heffley. Councilman Helbling. Councilman Scisciani.
Here.
Councilwoman Viscusi.
Here.
Councilman Viscusi.
Here.
President Woshner.
Here.
Mayor Doscher. Vice President.
Is someone going to be here because the tenant's here?
I don't think he is.
Okay, I just saw that. I thought maybe it was going to be some sort of presentation or something. That's why I asked. Okay, there will be an executive session at the end of the meeting to discuss the personnel issue. Are there any visitors who wish to speak? If you could step up to the podium, state your name and address, and write it on the register. You will have 5 minutes at this time of the meeting, and then also you will have 2 minutes at the end of the meeting. Are there any visitors who wish to speak?
My name is Matt Hurley. My address is 416 Division. And I also manage the Sheppard store in Bellevue. And so I was asked to come up and just kind of talk about 2 things. First is just to make you aware that we are starting the summer lunch program this summer for the kids in the community. So any kid from the age of 1 to 18 will be able to get a free lunch Monday through Friday. Starting this Monday, it will be at New Life Community Church, and it will be a hot night as well. So,
What church?
New Life Community on the former Working Presbyterian on the Fremont. So I have some flyers for you there. The second thing was I requested the Parks and Rec Committee use of Bayne Park for a fundraiser this Saturday, not for the whole park. I just wanted to, I can't say the whole meeting, so I see it's on the agenda, but I just wanted to clarify it. So we're doing a kind of like an Amazing Race, if you've ever seen the show, it's a fundraiser where teams will have to figure out where the stop is around the community, do some sort of challenge, and walk through to figure out where the next stop is. And so we've got different parks throughout the boroughs, businesses, nonprofits, and stops, and we wanted to use Bayne Park for a frisbee throwing challenge. So we don't need the whole park, we only need probably about like a 40-foot by 20-foot section of the grass, and at least this Saturday from 10 o'clock to about 1 o'clock. So I just wanted to let you know, and if there's any questions, see it's on the agenda, but I can't say, so I just want to get your answer questions.
Matt, I'm just going to ask part of the Whitney to talk with Public Works about maybe roping that little area you want off so that somebody else doesn't go in and use it. Unfortunately, they might think it's open with it. But she's going to have Public Works put that yellow ribbon on the table.
Is there any other questions?
Any questions for him?
Actually, did you get in touch with the DPA? You could be using the pavilion.
We will not use them.
Okay.
We just need the grass area.
Just the grass.
Yeah.
That was actually open down.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, I mean, where I was thinking of is where the old tennis courts used to be. It's out of the way, no one uses that.
No, it's going to be when you go up the driveway, that green area right below that.
I don't think that's, it's too popular of a time for the regular residents. There's no reason it can't be back in the corner where it's not bothering
They
anybody.
haven't put anything back there anymore.
Why?
Tennis courts aren't there.
No, I know, it's grass. We'll discuss that, but, you know, we have, it's a very busy time on Saturdays, and we have patrons using that park. And,
What time are you going to be there, Matt?
10 a.m. to 11 p.m.
well, we'll discuss that.
We reserved it for other people before.
Okay, we'll discuss that.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other visitors who wish to speak? Okay, no visitors who wish to speak? Any more visitors? Thank you for coming this evening. Review of the prior meeting minutes. Is there any discussion any of the minutes? Okay, no questions or discussion on that? Okay. And then any questions on the June bill list? My bill list was not very long.
There will be an addendum issued in this next council packet. There are more invoices
Okay.
and so.
Okay. Any other questions on that? Our reports. Our treasurer's not here, so he'll do it. Council, administration, DAS.
Yes, I was unable to get my report done in time for the packets, but it will be placed on SharePoint or put in everybody's mailboxes. The only thing I have to add that just came in is a proposal from HRG, and you'll get a copy of that as well, to do the bid documents for the demolitions of 3 properties in town, and those 3 properties are, and it's being paid by a grant fund. 591 Forest Avenue, 650 North Avenue, and 164 Washington Avenue. For the $2,000 that will allow HRG to put together the bid documents, and then the actual cost of the demolition will be paid through CDBG funding. One other thing that I have, I did put together an application for demolition for the next funding year through the county. I know that we had talked about not putting something in because of some of the streetscape projects and contracts not being out, but I didn't feel comfortable letting our own funding go through without the borough's name to be considered. So an application will be included in the manager's report as well.
And what was that for again?
Which one?
The one you just got done explaining.
The new application will be for next year's funding round.
Okay, for,
demolition.
not for the additional properties in addition to these.
There will be more properties.
Okay, but these were this year,
Correct. The 3 that I just named are for this year.
2013. Any questions for our DAS? Manager DAS? Engineer?
Good evening. A couple things to, we're getting very close to the submission date for the feasibility study for the consent order, and I provided the DAS with a draft final, about 90% complete copy of the feasibility study, and on your desk is a copy of the cover sheet and the table of contents only. So give you an opportunity to look through that real briefly and see what's in the feasibility study, and have an opportunity to read through any of the portions that the DAS has. And what I intend to do is make myself available during the committee meetings in June for questions that you may have, assuming it takes a little while to read through all that stuff. And then in the July PreCouncil meeting, have a discussion about what the final product is. And in the July council meeting, the council will have to pass a resolution adopting the feasibility study, and then be submitted at the end of July. So that's the big item that we've got going on.
How much is this going to cost?
We've already authorized it. The feasibility study has been going on for the last 2.5 years.
Okay. So we've already budgeted?
Yes. Yeah, this is not new. This is an ongoing thing.
This is what we've been dealing with.
That's correct. Yes. The Skate Plaza Phase 2 concrete is complete, and the Public Works Department has done some site leveling. We are in the process of getting together the changes for the site restoration, the handicap ramps, and the green infrastructure infrastructure, rain garden, and drainage for the DCNR grant. We'll be presenting that to council over the next month or so. But what that will pay for is sidewalks, handicap accessibility ramps,
Bathrooms?
if I don't think so. There's not enough money in the grant to do the bathrooms, but that's certainly something that we will be discussing at the committee meetings. What that will pay for, what was in the original application, and what we now have to make changes in order to pay for. It's my understanding the council does not want to contribute any more money than they already have set aside for this. So we're redoing, since this was applied for 3 years ago, we're redoing the scope of work to make sure that we can get what's available paid for in the current amount. Meaning, if a restroom is not able to be afforded underneath this amount of money, then we'll look at other things to do. We are going to be issuing the notice to proceed for the sewer project this week, and we'll be having a pre-construction meeting sometime probably within 2 weeks for the sanitary sewer repair project. We're expected to get the road paving project contract documents this week from the contractor. Once they're in, we will start that process of getting that work going. Those are the big items that I have on this list. Do you have any other questions?
Any questions for our engineer?
The big item is the feasibility study. We really have to get that out and hit that timetable in July to get that submitted. So.
Do we have all the paperwork so that we can actually do all that? We have
We're
it.
going to coordinate here.
With respect, we talked earlier. Yes,
we talked earlier.
So we have enough time to get it done. Yes, we have enough time.
When's the deadline for the phase 3 grant for the state plaza work?
2015.
No, okay, that says the grant expires June of 15, but what about the deadline to get all the paperwork in? Have we done it already?
The application has been submitted. You've been authorized to proceed. There are some changes to the initial scope that we have to get approved by DCNR. Then, once those changes are approved, we'll move ahead with construction. And that's where the issue of the restroom will be discussed.
Any other questions for John?
Okay.
I have another question. Flood. Have you looked at that flood information? Because we only have till July.
Yes, you don't have to do anything.
Were there any changes?
No.
So you're exactly the same?
You were the same as you were, I guess, at the beginning of this year, or the end of last year when we made the presentation. Those maps are located in the corner over there. No, there's nothing else that you have to do. There's been no public input, no public, what do you want to call it? Nobody who is living in that area has come forward based on the information that was sent to their residents to make changes to the borough maps.
Okay, and so this is, were there changes from before that?
There were changes to the old maps based on the new floodplain elevations.
Okay,
Those new floodplain elevations affected some of the properties coming out Jack's Run.
and that's where mostly it is?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yes. Yes.
Because I know there's going to be some changes October 1st.
Yes.
And because I'm going into training next week on that, so, okay. So at least I know a little bit.
Yeah, no, there's two parts to this. There's the flood insurance portion, and then there's the mapping portion that the municipalities have to deal with. We're dealing with the mapping portion that the municipalities have to deal with, not the flood insurance program that will be changed as a result of
That's
this.
October 1st. Okay, I mean, I talked to someone who actually got a letter, not in Bellevue. I was talking to someone in Home Depot and got one of those, so.
Bellevue isn't as affected as some other riverfront communities.
We are not, we're very fortunate here when it comes to flooding. Okay, thank
Right?
you.
Okay, thanks.
Library, Denise, do you have a report for us? You're on the agenda, so. So I assume that you have something to say.
Well, I just wanted to fill everybody in that, we're really ramping up the program for the summertime. I'm still doing a lot of collaboration with the Heffley librarian for the 50-book challenge and for other items that will be mutually beneficial for both communities. And Lynn is helping me with a special program that I'm doing for elementary children with building new circuits and stuff. It's a cool thing. We need some instructors to come in. I have all the concerts and movies planned for the summertime, and they'll be ready to roll starting next week. And we have 4 different summer reading programs running starting on the 10th. So there's lots happening.
What age groups in the summer reading?
There's all age groups. There's preschool, elementary, teens, and then adult. So there's 4 different programs we run. And once again, our library is one of the test libraries for the questions, which is really unique and innovative programming that we're having for elementary kids for the summer. So we're all in the back too.
Will there be a cost for the children to take part in the summer reading?
Absolutely not. Yeah, I've gotten some funding here and there, and then I've budgeted it, so we should be good with that.
Very good, thank you. Any questions for our librarian?
I just want to remind that she will be running back that she got money from AGA for all the concerts and the movies this year. So the borough was not paying for any of the concerts. That's every other Wednesday, and none of the movie nights every other Wednesday.
Very good, yeah, $3,202.
That's right.
Actually, Allegany General, Suburban General, prior to that for years, I would say the last probably 12 years or more, has been doing this every year. It's very generous.
It is extremely generous of them. It shows that they're really supporting the communities that they have a foothold in or presence in.
And it's a great program, and it's well attended most of the time. I would like to see more attendance. It's the music, I enjoy the live music.
Well, this year, it's not going to be the same old. I looked high and low and kind of talked people down, so we're getting different sort of musicians coming in. We're looking for quality more than the same old stuff. So, we're going to have a reggae band in, which I know people are planning as well. So,
Thank you.
Is the, just put the bands in on
I don't know, I have a copy right here.
Yeah.
Do I find it? I mean, they're on the
Could you-
website, they're everywhere.
I mean, could you get that to Whitney so she can put it on SharePoint for us?
I'll send it to you via email. Okay?
Okay, that'd be wonderful. Thank you.
Flyer posted in the school windows.
Well, actually, I have it downstairs, and I sent it to Ms. Rankin, who hopefully will put it in this Friday. And, I have it in the library, but just call me. I mean, I can have like 1,000 flyers up, and I bet you every Wednesday we get 40 to 60 calls. Who's watching? What are you doing? So I think people just know about it. I don't feel like it's something I really have to advertise. But we're actually, there's something else going on. This Friday, we're going to start Friday night team programming. So I'm going to have a couple staff come in like after hours. And this Friday, they're doing an open mic. And next Friday, they're going to start on like drama lessons, because I had a staff member who actually did a lot of drama through college and as an adult after college, so just going to be reading that. So that'd be good.
Actually, you've had good response from teens, haven't you?
Yeah, I think I have, yeah. And it's really helpful that the room is teen only, So that's really good. A place where they aren't super, the programming that I have a lot of people that come, but for teen movies and stuff, they just don't show up. But I think they feel like the library's that room is a safe place for them to hang out. So sometimes I'll have too many kids in that room, if you know what I mean. Because just not good space, but I'd rather have too many than none, so.
Yeah. Any other questions for Denise, our librarian? Thank you.
You're welcome.
God, I hope so. I think we just needed to brief everybody on the intern, Julie Collins.
Yeah, could you come up and step up here?
Sure.
Yes, if you could update us on, what's happening with our summer intern.
Julie's a study at University of Pittsburgh. She's actually going for a master's in her but she has done a lot of good work, revitalization, East Liberty, grant writing, urban policy planning. And in the last 3 weeks, she's basically taken all of our hard copy files, put them into electronic format, and added them to our software program so that everything's integrated and synced into one location instead of 2 or 3. Tomorrow we're going to be hitting the streets. She'll actually be creating a spreadsheet, not only for the borough to use for vacant and abandoned properties, but also we can turn it over to both solicitor if they need to further research that, Jordan tax, bring back taxes, etc. So we'll be starting that tomorrow. We'll be doing that a few days a week. And hopefully we'll get some spreadsheets coming that I can present to you all here soon and see what kind of progress we're making. But she is quite diverse. Even studied in Italy. And she can juggle while riding a unicycle. I don't know if that's perfect or not. But, so yeah, we're looking forward to this. Again, tomorrow's our first day in the field. So we're going to get out there and see what's going on. She's going to get it on spreadsheet for us.
I did stop in today, I had to pick up something.
She did tell me she introduced herself to you, or you introduced yourself to her.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. But what I saw on the spreadsheet, she has, all the buildings in Bellevue, and of course, we will prioritize those in the worst condition. Also looking at those who haven't paid taxes, and we're going to be able to prioritize those. So basically, it is, putting everything in that spreadsheet, so the information we need is at
Also,
our
I'd like to
fingertips.
add that what she did with our files in 3 weeks, I didn't think anybody could get done in 6 months. So she certainly has hit the ground running on this project. And again, because of the diversity of her background, doing work for the city of Pittsburgh and revitalization projects that she presented on those ones.
Good, thank you, appreciate
You're
it.
quite welcome.
Any questions for our code enforcement officer? No, thank you, Jim.
Thank you.
Any council reports? Okay. Committee chair reports. Finance, our chair of finance, Sue Viscusi.
The first motion is I move to approve 2 business days for Public Partners of Pennsylvania to transition to the new manager.
Any questions or comments concerning the 2 days, or do you think we need more or less, or any comments on that? Everyone happy with 2 days? Okay.
Next one, I move to recommend to council that the bills be signed by 2 committee members at each pre-council meeting every month.
Any questions or comments concerning that? But we'll still get our bill list. We're just going to actually see the bills so that we can look them over. Anything else? Any other questions? I'm looking at you because I thought maybe you had a question concerning that.
No,
So
it's
not-
funny this is on here because I was thinking through that, how we used to do that. We used to see all the bills, and I would just see the bills, so I'm glad we're doing it.
Okay, good, thank you. Good, thank you. Okay, any other questions for our chair of finance, Sue? Thank you, Sue. Parks and Recreation, chairperson Jim Scisciani.
I move to approve the use of Bayne Park for fundraising by the Sheppard Store on June 8th from 10:30 a.m. to 1 p.m. for action today.
Is that for actions? Oh, that's right, okay. Okay, a motion has been made and seconded to approve the use of Bayne Park for a fundraiser by the Sheppard Store on June 8, 2013, from 10:30 a.m. to 1 p.m. Discussion on the motion? Okay, no discussion. Let me tell you my concerns. Saturday is a busy day for our park, and I just believe taking the area that you're talking, when it could be where the old tennis courts used to be. It's out of the way. It's not used by most of our residents, and I can't see why that can't be used. Why do we have to use a space that is is used so often for our residents. I have no problem with nonprofits using the park and having a spot if it's out of the way and not used by by most of the time not used by our residents, because that's a part that's not used very often.
The partial answer to that is the frisbee contest, and some of them are going to go a bit further than you would think. It's more of a confined area over the corner where the tennis courts are. Second, this is actually being used for a fundraiser for Bellevue Christian Church out of the Sheppard's for their summer programs. And it would draw more attention right in out of front here and over in a corner someplace. My feelings are we give the same exposure in that area for people that have cheerleaders or anybody else that goes in there. So why can't we do the same for somebody's worthy cause like this?
But cheerleaders, it's not taped off. They're using a certain portion. This is going to be a taped off area. And so it will not be able to be used, and it's going to be 20 by 40, plus you have the frisbee exposure to the road, you have the frisbee exposure to the playground area, and of course to the cars. If it's in that corner and if it's going towards the road area, it has less likelihood of going far enough that it could injure somebody in the playground area, and if they're going from that side, it won't go into any of the buildings. It's just an area that doesn't have the exposure of the site.
Large enough area that they don't even have to be near the road, basically. That's
20 by 40.
the area that they want, they need to use.
Okay, I'm not happy with the area, I can tell you that, because that's a very well-used part of the park for our residents, and there's an area that to me will be so perfect.
Most of these people are actually residents, so why can't they use the park that's used for residents?
The whole park is used for residents, but that's just one.
Why can't they be using the same area that any other resident would go? If another resident is welcome there, why aren't they?
Yeah, but this is going to be blocked off so that no one else can use it. And so that's one.
Blocked off long enough for them to start using it, and once they start using it, you can move the tapes. It's just to let somebody know that it isn't going to be used.
I have a problem with that. I really do, because that's a prime area, that's so well used. I have a problem. I mean, I'm going to vote for it, but I'm going to say I don't like the area that it's going to be used, because I think it's a very good cause, it's a very good group, but I have a problem with the area. Okay, any other questions or concerns? Okay. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Nays? I don't think we need a roll call now. No nays? Next.
Next motion is to move to authorize an expense of $2,000 for Independence Day celebration, entertainment, and firearms action on 6/20.
Okay, any questions or comments concerning that? Okay.
It says $2,000 and $500 used for entertainment, so it's just a factor of 2,000.
Yeah, it also includes advertising money and other monies that we need. It's just a cushion like last year. I was fortunate enough to get donations last year to bring the 4th of July picnic down $300. I don't know if I can do it this year. It's just a cushion.
I think 2,000 is a lot, and for 500 for entertainment for the hot dog festival, but the advertising we does that anyway. They have to do it, so that doesn't come out of the money. It should come out of the money from refreshments and the cups and things like that. So I would go for 1,200, and I can't see paying anybody $5 for entertainment.
There's two types of entertainment.
Okay. Do we, how much of this is for Neil Diamond as opposed to the clown? What's the cost?
They're evenly split. He brought his price down to the same price.
Okay, I guess I'm going to be back.
Yeah, Jen.
I like Neil Diamond. I don't see, if anything, maybe this jockey, last year we got the young kid play in his band. I think it should be more geared to the young folks, like a DJ, if we do music at all. Last few years, I didn't really see any need for music because between the face painting, the clown, the bingo, the eating, and the free pool, the music really just was sort of kind of just sitting out there. It wasn't really a focus point. That's my opinion for me for the last couple of years. Like I said, I like the line, but
Yeah, I personally didn't think the music, it was sort of like a background type thing to me. I don't know, that's my thoughts on it. Anyone else?
I want to remind everybody that like last year, I did all this myself. I'm doing it myself again this year. And again, I'll say, if anyone is dissatisfied, I'll gladly step aside and I'm looking.
You do have a committee.
Our committee, when we passed the motion to get requested $2,000, Frank and I Frank made the motion, I seconded it. I'm sure if Kathy would have been there, she would have seconded it.
But Jim, it's up to 2,000, so there's a very good likelihood it'll be way below that based on
Like
donations.
last year, that's hard to say, it's just a cushion. Like last year was 1,500.
Because I want to say that one year we had a DJ, and I think they were a couple $100, just the DJ for that one.
I'd like to see music for all age groups, and Neil Diamond, it's like, I think it's even for older than me, so.
People love Sweet Caroline, right?
yeah. I'm also.
They played at the.
I personally would like to see a diverse.
Red Sox.
Then we have a lot of things going on with the kids. We've got this film, we've got face painting, we've got the balloons, we've got a lot of things. This is something for people to relax and a little older. Because basically all we have is food for them and the ones that do go swimming. And
Bingo.
Brought that back last year.
Yeah, I think that. Okay, any other questions or comments? Okay, that's what we'll do.
Okay, there's one other comment I have for Paul. Whenever you're ready.
No, go ahead. Go on to the next one.
Okay, it's concerning the skate plaza. It's unfortunate, and I think it's more younger kids because in talking with the young fellow, what's his name, Brian? Last year on those kids worked with Mike Hudson and Cindy and them to teach the little kids actually how to skate and everything, skateboards. This year what's happening is they're taking the gravel and they're throwing it to Miller's Wheel. Now, I saw this last night myself, I was with Kurt Stein, and my question is, I'm not blaming the kids will be kids, but can we cover that gravel with a tarp or something and stake it down so the kids aren't tempted? Would that be done, Mike?
Why is the gravel there?
It's part of the next stage.
The gravel has to be there, and it's a little tempting to some of the kids.
You witnessed it, did you call the police?
I saw when he came over, he picked up, there was two of them thrown out while I was there.
Did you call the police though?
Now, who are you gonna call them? Police are gonna get up there and say, who did it? Unless you actually see the kid doing it,
So you saw the kid do it?
I think can't punish all the kids that are there because of one.
How much longer until that gravel can be used up?
The gravel is spread around right now. As far as John, he told us to use what we had, spread it around, and that was it. Until the next phase is agreed upon for finishing product.
And that could be
year.
Can you think about a remedy to take care of this problem? I don't know what to do.
There's not much you can do.
I mean, you see children doing that, I mean, they need to be, I mean, if you know the children that are doing it, you call the police, and the police aren't going to punish everybody, but the children who are doing it. I mean, that's how you teach children not to do certain things, that they're, and that they're responsible for their actions. I don't know, what do we do?
We had mentioned the cameras before, I don't know where that is, but that might
I'd
help.
like to see that. Yes, yes. I mean, I'm all for it.
Can we put that on the next agenda for safety? Because I know Matt has priced those out, and he said he's ready to go on it. We just need to find the money.
We gotta find the money. Has he looked for any kind of grants, do you know?
I don't.
Public safety, Jane, can you ask the chief to, kind of like look around and see what we can do?
Can you on public safety?
Chief Chair.
What about maybe tying and maybe Homeland Security on Lincoln Avenue and Parks?
I'd love it.
Well, Lincoln Avenue and.
Yeah.
Well,
More cameras for Lincoln Avenue and parks.
Might be able to tie in with Homeland Security.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Jim, the pool, there's still one more.
I move to approve payment application number 1 and final for the Memorial Park Pool Bath House Roof Replacement. Contract in the amount of $46,178 from budget line item 452.252, fraction 611.
Okay, any questions or comments concerning that? I mean, the job is done, I guess. Is it, Jim, is the roof on?
Yes.
Is the roof on?
The roof is on. The quality inspector for the roofing contractor and the manufacturer came in. As a matter of fact, it was raining the day we had the roof inspection. And the public works guys found a leak that they repaired. So it was fortuitous that we had that done. Everything's been fixed and it's done.
What kind of warranty do we have on that?
15 years.
Okay, so any other leaks?
15 years.
I'll still be living. I'll be here in 15 years. Any other questions or comments concerning the pool roof? Jane?
No, I wasn't going to do pool roof.
I can't hear you.
I was going to do anything on pool roof, I was still parking there.
Okay. Kathy, you're the same thing? Okay, Jane, go ahead about Park and Rec.
I had asked, I got a message with the chief because he had sent a picture for the state park parking, and I had requested prices in photos, so they would have them. So Whitney, if you can get over with the chief and ask him about the sign for the state park saying parking for patrons only, or he had a sampler and a price for that, so that we can get that out of the board.
Was that approved by the committee?
It was approved like months ago, maybe months.
Because I saw it. I mean, I had a new light.
And so it just stopped, so I just want to make sure it's getting.
Oh, wait, Kathy's next. And then Kathy.
Just two things. On the minutes, we had about the painting of the library. I think Denise, do we need 3 quotes for the painting?
Should. You know what? I thought that the DPW was going to do that during the winter on their off time. That was never anything talked about that we were going to get a painting company in. So I believe that should be considered a painting project for the winter because off time or rain day.
All right, so that's.
It's under the public bid. I mean, you don't have to.
You know what?
Yeah, it's under 10, so.
All right.
I know that doesn't mean we should get more than one, but I thought when we were
We're not doing it.
What?
We're not doing that.
Not doing what?
This.
Well, unless everybody wants it, but I thought that's what we discussed at budget time.
This estimate came in for 29.
Yeah. So, I don't know, might ever rain days too, that, you can't be doing outside work, that,
Yeah, but you probably have to set up staffing and everything else.
So it's one
matters for staff. No, we're talking the interior.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. You have to set up scaffolding and ladders and everything else on a rain day, and the patrons are coming in and out.
We'd have to close off that room, no matter who does it, they're still gonna have to do the same thing. Okay, so maybe a good winter project?
Yes. That's what you want, yes.
I mean, that's what we talked about when we were talking, when we were discussing the budget. Jim,
Yeah, it says on here, if we're going to do this for the winter, but can we just do some of the outside work for this? Too wintry, too cold, just painting railings and so forth, and that's about it. It's very minimal. You know, the weather's good. The
That's
weather's
what
good.
you want to paint the railing, that's.
Yeah, if they need it.
There's nothing about it.
I mean,
isn't that for interior?
There's a porch railings on there as well.
is it inside the garage?
But that's something that our public works department can be doing.
It's the public works committee, because they would have a better idea, schedule ours and the DPW's winter work project that they want to be done.
Would you put that on your agenda, Jim, and discuss the schedule for painting some exteriors and some interiors, Is that okay with everybody? I mean, it's a group effort here. Everybody's okay with that decision? Anything else for,
Whitney, I heard that this came through the office, but I'm not sure that it got to Parks and Rec. And it's the dedication of the trails up at Memorial Park for October 5th. Did you discuss that in Parks and Rec, Jim? I didn't see it on the... But they contacted me to see if we had talked about it, and they're trying to reserve that date. But they have finished all the trails, 2.5 miles of trails, and they want to have a dedication and celebration. They have sponsors, races, all kinds of activities for all age groups. But they just want to make sure that they have that date. So I don't know if we can approve that tonight or not. It's October 5th, Saturday. But it's P-TAG, remember P-TAG, and this is also, what they're trying to do is connect it with the rails to trails, so we can be the last stop on that trip from Washington DC, which would be great.
can we put that on the agenda for council?
Yeah, for council, just so we can get the date on the books and they can start working around the date. Would that be okay?
Yeah,
So
there'll
then
be
we-
plenty of time to work on what they're doing.
Right. But that's a huge accomplishment. They've been doing that for 2 years.
Great. Anything else for Parks and Recreation?
I just have one comment. It's unfortunate, the dog park, it's considered better than the one in the county or in North Park. But I throw that in, I pulled the money today. What's been happening, it's not the people's fault. They're going into the driveway of the park itself and parking at the entrance and then taking their dogs in without realizing that the dog park is actually down the road a little bit. My thoughts are, if we have a big enough sign, not a small wooden sign attached to the wooden sign that's there, something more visible with brighter letters, informing them that the dog park's next door, 100 feet down the road.
Can we have like just a plain small directional sign? Dog park?
I don't think somebody pulling in, and they've got dogs in their car and kids, is they're going to notice a small sign like this there.
That's, I'm talking something. And you're talking about cars. Can that be put onto your committee agenda and so that it can be discussed?
I think, again, it's not the fault of people visiting, they just don't know.
But I think directional signs would not be a bad idea.
Yeah.
But I think it should go to the
Dog
committee.
park, hey, here's the dog park.
I think that should go to your committee, discuss it.
Okay.
design your sign, size of your sign, where are we gonna get the money for the sign? You know, that, whatever you can do. Any other questions for Parks and Recreation Committee? Okay, thank you, Jim. Public Works, Chairperson Jim Viscusi.
Okay, I have a motion, move to approve the purchase of a Cup Cadet mower and bagger from Home Depot in the amount of $2,547 from budget line item 430740.
Questions or comments concerning that? Jim?
What am I going to say? I'd like to see the line that like instead of an engine for a 17-year-old tractor. But is this a commercial vehicle tractor?
It is not.
Okay. Is that adequate for what you need it for?
Well, we had a non-commercial one. The small John Deere was non-commercial before.
That's a good name. That's all.
I want to thank Mike for intervening and getting prices and investing in newer tractor as opposed to putting a motor into an old tractor. So thank you. I think that was a very good move. So good job, Jane.
I just want to make it clear that he brought us paperwork that's actually cheaper than what the motor would have been. When we voted on that, we didn't have any of that information from us. The other tractor they wanted to purchase was almost $6,000. That's why we didn't go that route. But he brought us another tractor that's the same price as the motor. So that's why the Public Works decided.
Good job.
Decided.
Good for the taxpayer. Thank you. Any other questions for Public Works? No other questions? Thank you, Jim. Public Safety, Chair of Public Safety, Jane Braunlich.
I'm only going to have one motion for the 11th, and it is for the YMCA 5K run, closing streets from Lincoln Avenue to down Mount Forest. They have a whole map for it. That's about all we have for the July 20th. Starts at 7:15 and ends at 9:15.
Any questions or comments concerning that? It's a good event. I'd like to see people there. Okay, any other questions for Public Safety, Chairperson? Okay, thank you, Jane. Special committee reports, any committee reports? Okay, I would say that I attended the Connect meeting, and one of the guests there was GTEC. And I know last year they brought up about the sunflower gardens. One of the things they brought up, and I don't know how we can get the word out, there's something called refueling for the restaurants, and that they can recycle their used cooking oil. So I don't know if the restaurants are familiar with that. So I don't know how in the heck we would get the word out, but I think that would be a nice program. So there are a number of things, including the sunflower garden. And I want to mention I was on the nominating committee, and our fellow councilperson, Kathy, will be the chair for Connect after June 20th. So congratulations. And let me see here, anything else? Oh, next, at the council meeting, we're going to have a representative from Connect, and we're going to be talking about sewers. So I think that will be very interesting to all of us. So I'm not exactly sure what his content will be, but he will be at our council meeting. So, we can ask him any questions that we may have. So put them together. Okay. No other special committee reports? Okay, resolutions. We are going to have 2 resolutions. Oh, no, one is tonight. Okay. Do we have a motion for the first resolution?
I'd like to make a motion for resolution 0813, hiring summer, part-time summer help. Second resolution is in the bathroom.
Okay, a motion has been made and seconded to approve resolution 0813, authorizing and directing the hiring of part-time public works staff. Discussion on the motion. Kathy.
I hate to bring this up because this has nothing to do with you as a person, Mike, but I noticed your son is on the list. And he's the supervisor. So I just wondered if that is a nepotism thing. It was one thing that was just staff there and worked with people, but now he's the supervisor. And I'm not trying to cause trouble, but I feel like that could be crossing the line a little bit. I don't know what everybody else is. I know if I had a child, it would be hard for me not to view them a little bit differently than everybody else.
Now, keep in mind, his position is temporary.
Right. But it probably will last through the summer.
And,
Because we haven't even started interviewing yet. It's just a thought. I know we had an issue last year about nepotism and hiring people's kids, which I don't have a problem with it if you're not directly supervising them, but I thought this might be the right way. And we're setting a precedent too.
okay, any comments concerning that? Okay.
If I didn't misunderstand, I think, I just heard that he had worked for Public Works a few years ago, I think it was. That's, as far as I know, before we.
It's nothing.
Yeah, but I didn't know, you know what I mean? So, and all his credentials were in order, you know, when he was hired.
Okay, any other discussion on the motion? Jane?
The issue that she was talking about, it was actually a council person.
Okay, I can't hear you.
It was actually a council person child, so that is a different, we power and council person, not anybody that's in public works. I mean, they may recommend somebody be fired, or kept on, but he has no hand in hiring more people. So that's what the problem was last year with the council.
Any other comments on it? Okay, all those in favor say aye. Aye, nays. Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Barbarino. Councilwoman Ferrer.
Aye.
Councilman Scisciani. Councilwoman Viscusi. Councilman Viscusi. President Woshner. Motion carries.
Okay, we have a resolution for next week concerning authorizing the real estate tax refunds. Any questions on that one at all? Okay, ordinances. We have 3 of them that we'll be voting on next week. The first one is the budget.
There's actually another one for the bikes. It's probably sitting under that. It went down to Alligator Alliance. They're going down to Alligator Alliance. And it's not on the agenda, so I didn't know if you wanted to pass tonight.
I just got the resolution today, Chief, so I'll put it on the agenda for next week.
Okay.
Okay, let me kind of like mention this, okay? Their intention is to refurbish bicycles and contribute them, excuse me guys. Okay, the intent is to refurbish bicycles and contribute them to underprivileged children. Okay, and this okay, the Borough of Bellevue to donate these items greater than 90 days in store to a charitable organization such as the Allegheny Center Alliance Church. Okay, so that's kind of a summary of what that particular ordinance is. And any questions or comments on that one, since that's the last one, Jim?
I think this is the program that the police departments use. They refurbish the bikes and they
Great. Any other comments on that one? Okay, the pawn shop ordinance, any questions or comments concerning that, Becky?
Yeah, I got a letter or inquiry. I had asked the chief his opinion when I read this, because if I heard correctly, Mr. Bodie had an issue with the 30-day hold, and I asked the chief his opinion, and I have a letter that he sent back to me saying that he has spoken with Bodie and Stewart concerning the ordinance, and they proposed a 10-day hold, and Mike Bodie even purchased an iPad to log and photograph the items. I know the committee is pushing for 30-day, but this will harm our jewelry businesses in Bellevue, and the chief is recommending the 10 days as well. So that's what I have right here.
Well, that's unfortunate, because I talked to the chief, and actually, when I spoke to him, he thought it should have been longer. I'm really surprised that he changed his mind. I told him I had no problem with 30 days. That's what the city of Pittsburgh had. You do not want people stealing your property and, selling them to your jewelry stores locally. If you could, you would probably be best to keep moving them out further and further. Hopefully the state will come up with a mandate of everybody doing it for 30 days. But as I explained to the chief and public safety, which moved this on to council, that all the pictures in the world are not going to get your jewelry back for you. If you don't find out that your jewelry is missing until 29 days, would you rather get your jewelry back, or would you rather, oh, look, I got a picture so we can prosecute Joe? Imagine your wedding ring or your mother's ring or something that's just priceless to you disappears and you don't know it's gone for 29 days, or somebody's in your house doing some work on you. Do you want a picture, or would you go on and try to get that back? Because that's what this entire ordinance is for, the victims of theft.
I mean, my concern is, why didn't the chief voice this at the committee?
Why did he voice it 3 days ago when I talked to him?
But I have a copy.
I know.
I want to go with what the chief says, because his whole thing here is, our goal is to investigate the crime and arrest the suspect. Recovering the property is our goal. But more often than not, it's gone by the time the crime is reported anyway. Therefore, our ultimate goal is to begin an evidence gathering system, which is the main intent of this ordinance. And then he said that Officer Dole and Cindy are working with other agencies in regard to the pawn list of stolen goods. The ordinance would give them and other officers a tool and open communication with those who deal with these items. But this is what he said. So I just got this, because I had asked his opinion, because I thought I had heard Mr. Fody say that this would hurt his business, and I asked the chief his opinion, and that's what he gave me. I think it was stated today, 2/28.
And here I am with the chair of public safety, and him sitting at the table with us and not saying anything about what was brought up.
I'm just a messenger.
Yeah, I know. I'd like to know why he is not saying what he wants at this meeting.
It was, this ordinance was actually to try to get people's stuff back, because all the pictures in the world are not going to do it. So, that's exactly what it was.
I have a problem with one of our supervisors stating one thing to one council person and another thing at the committee meeting. This is supposed to be hashed out at the committee level. I'm very disappointed in that. Jim, you said you had a comment?
Yeah, I think if he can document everything, and he knows how to document it, we don't. He knows what kind of time frame there is for everything. If it was 30 days, he documents it at the beginning. So why is it going to just sit idle for all that time? You have to wait. You're going to lose total focus on something like that. Like I said, maybe pictures won't do anything, but at least they can be addressed sooner.
What if you don't know it's missing for 30 days? What if your grandson steals your jewelry that you have in the jewelry box, and you have been with jewelry for a while? And, maybe on the 29th day, because I'm going to try it on that classroom or whatever, and it's gone. And you know it was your grandson who did it. You're not going to care that they have pictures that your grandson did. You're not going to care. Because you're going to prosecute them? That's not going to happen. That's what this is for. This is for the victims. The victims to get their stuff back.
Why is this not hurting the Pittsburgh businesses?
I like to look at one too. There's a lot of pawn shops and secondhand jewelry stores and areas on it.
Why isn't it hurting the city businesses?
And then if their problem is fluctuation of jewelry, well, maybe people will on it 30 days, maybe the jewelry will go up.
Should this go back to...
This is something that they chose to get into as a business. We have to try to protect the residents from getting
Can I make a motion to send it back to safety and get everybody on the same page?
No, I would like the chief to have been on the same page when he was sitting at that table.
Okay, but wait a minute, hold on, we can do another discussion. Do we have a second? Second. Okay, a motion has been made and seconded to take this back to committee. Okay, now discussion on the motion. Any discussion on it? Okay, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Nays? Okay, are there any other nays other than him? Nays go back to committee. this is, it's exempting governmental agencies, signs from ballparks, or other outdoor activities intended for recreational use from the noise ordinance. Is that the proper interpretation? Any questions or comments concerning that?
So, when the original ordinance was put through for noise, there was a decibel meter considered. Was this ever done?
Don't know. Was that ever mentioned? This would be what, public, this is public
I
safety.
don't think that's in, I can check the old ordinance, but I don't believe that's in there. As it says.
We had talked about it because it would have made a difference, although the decibel meter on ordinance, a lot more noise than some other.
If I may, I believe that we had an ordinance, the original noise ordinance in place years ago, but I believe it was 90 decibels somewhere in there, and of course that's across the board. It didn't matter what it was just 90 decibels. I don't know whether they want to do this ordinance or not. Again, I don't know of anybody that carries a decibel meter with them. So it would be pretty hard pressed to try and utilize that.
Yeah, without a meter.
That's correct.
Do we even own a meter?
Not to my knowledge. My department never has.
See, we can put any decibel level we want, but if we don't have a meter measure.
Well, I mean, the purpose of this isn't really to regulate how you regulate the noise. That's already being done consistently. This is just to basically pull something out and say, these items are not to be regulated. So, I mean, this ordinance really doesn't deal with how you currently treat, noise violations. But, yeah, I mean, if you don't have a
Meter, it's not going to help. That's a good point. Okay, no other questions on the noise ordinance amendment? Okay, and then we have a dumpster ordinance. And what this is, it's to, and, I did read that ordinance earlier, basically to cover the dumpsters from the site of passerbys. So, Jamie, would you be able to explain that a little bit better than I just did?
No, that was pretty much it.
Okay.
It's a little, that garbage that's on Main Drive.
It's a little tough when you're walking and you see this dumpster there. They're not very pretty. Okay, any questions or comments concerning that ordinance? Okay. Okay, I've covered all the ordinances. Jane?
There was one more that was missed. It should be on its third reading. It's the one for the fines. It's dropping out. We're going to $25. So we'll be on the third reading of that.
Can we make sure that that's on?
It's ordinance 9320.
Thank you for bringing that up. All for reducing fines. Okay, any other questions on anything? Okay, next would be old business. Is there any old business?
Yes.
Jane?
I do have some business. For about a year, me and my family have been slandered and harassed, so I have some clarification, and I really wish the mayor was here, because somebody handed me this letter, and I thought, you know what, it's actually time to clear up some of his miscommunications. One, he puts in here that we refused to attempt getting free trees for the park. This is why we didn't get the tree vitalization. Well, that is absolutely untrue. We tried to get the free trees. Jeff Barbarino said we didn't get the free trees because 3 reasons. We logged for cash in the park. Logging for cash was one of them. We have no tree ordinance, and we have no tree commission. So there are 2 things that we're going to have to do before the end of the year. It's a tree ordinance and tree commission. Jeff Barbarino said he will more than well happy to come into this community to help us. Because you cannot get these free trees if you don't have any one of those, and we don't have any one of them, so we will not be able to get any trees for the avenue. Do it the way I insisted. We saved the borough $12,000. The second was Park and Rec, the fencing. I don't know if any of you can see this letter, but I'm just going through the things. Park and Rec fencing. It came out of the Park and Rec committee for $3,900 for fencing. On the committee would be Kathy, Scisciani, and Frank Camello. And what he said was, he'll pick people who's getting stuff for their friends. Well, the only 2 people, kids that play at the park for baseball are Marks and Franks. Okay. The other thing was, he's still complaining that his son didn't get hired. Well, Frank and the mayor's son were not recommended, and I will say this one more time, by the DPW road crew or by the mayor the first round.
DAS, not the mayor, DAS.
Yeah, the DAS, the first round. Our resolution had all the employees' names on it, and that's who they recommended. The second round, the mayor has already thrown a fit. What are you supposed to do, hire his son because he threw a fit? And there's a difference between hiring a council person and mayor's son, because then they try to harass council and try to hire an employee's son. There's your difference. He also commented on the wage for insurance, that we are making the lowest paid insurance people pay more. It's actually untrue. It is more of the higher pay. Your police chief, your DASs, and with the recommendation that we had, all the employees saved $444 this year. Okay, now here goes friends and jobs. Kathy Lynn, 2 years ago, was on the Park and Rec Committee, and when they put out for pool, well, it's on the 2 years ago. For 2 years, we paid $35,000 more a year for a friend of Kathy's and Lisa's. And this is a quote from Lisa Blank's story. We can tell her the other company's price so she can beat it. That's a quote from Lisa Blank's story. Tom McDermott was at Kathy's fundraisers. The CEC got the job at $4,000 more than the other company that was better. And who was on that recommended committee? Amy Robinson, Mark Robinson, and Danina. So talk about friends. And that would be Bradley.
You can't speak at this point.
And then the other thing, he's still harping on the DPW. If there's nothing to see, there would have been nothing to see. And unfortunately, I have to know, he's still typing away like he's the only one with an opinion. Now, Mark has one out here. He's complaining about the park, children up at the park. They're making too much noise, they're throwing rocks, they're swearing. His recommendation is not getting to one of our 15 full-time officers to patrol it. His recommendation is hiring a guard to patrol it. And then he actually thinks that there's plans in the works to have an officer on the beat. There's no plans in the works. So, now, any questions?
No, you have to wait.
What committee was I on?
The recommendation for the...
Okay, hold on. You know what, you can discuss it at time of when the visitors can speak. We will have 2 minutes, okay? Sorry, Jane, but this is not an open forum.
Well, that was old business, and this has been old business.
Okay, it's not an open forum, so, Jim. We are on old business. You want new business or you want old? Okay, we'll wait till noon. Okay, any other old business? Okay, let me kind of reiterate, because I did talk to Tree Vitalize, and we are going to work with Tree Vitalize to get trees, okay? I have contacted them. I also have another person. Her job is to help us put together a tree ordinance and a tree commission. Those are things that are necessary to get this particular grant that we didn't have. Just to educate people, you know, when you apply for a grant, that doesn't mean that you're going to get what you applied for. I mean, many people apply for this. I was a member of the Allstate Insurance Company Foundation, so I was on the other end, and we got hundreds of applications for grants. And we gave money only to a certain portion of those. And the first thing is we looked at what was in our focus group. Well, obviously in Tree Vitalize, we're in the focus group. Okay, but also you have to meet their guidelines to a T, because your competitors who are trying for that grant have the needed credentials and guidelines to meet this. And that's basically what happened. We didn't have everything together, so we're going to do it this time. We're going to do it the right way, and they're going to be working with us. Jeff said that he would come to a meeting, so now the deadline for that is September 20th, so we have to do a lot in July. But the reason that we didn't get it, okay, was because the tree ordinance, the tree commission, we had logging for profit, and that wasn't too favorable to them as well. and they were under the pretense that the trees were planted in August. Meanwhile, they were planted in third week in September under the advice of a trained arborist. And you will know, because he said, oh, they're all going to be dead. Well, they're all living because it was under the advice of a trained arborist. So things were done properly. So we can overcome that. At this point, he said, you know, we're putting all that behind us and we are going to move forward. So I told him we want to show a sincere interest, and so I will be talking to him and to somebody from the Pennsylvania Extension Services. So you'll know more about that probably in July, and they'll probably be guests of ours. So we are, and they felt that that area in the Cinder Lot Dog Park area would be a good place to start. He says it would be good to start small, see how it works, and then go on to something bigger. So that is right from the person from the Western Pennsylvania Conservancy. So that's kind of an up-to-date what you're talking about, James. So we will, this time we're going to do it the right way, and I'm hoping that we will be successful. But I will tell you, there's no guarantee because we're not the only ones that will be applying for this particular grant. But this will be our second time, and sometimes second time, and if we have everything in place, we've got a much better chance of doing it. Okay. New business, Jim.
On that same subject, is tree planting involved in parks?
Well, it's going to be whatever we ask for. But when I was talking to him, I was talking about that area there around the dog park. So
If it involves the parks, I would strongly suggest that they work with the parks committee.
well, at this point, I'm the person that's contacting them, and they're going to come to council. So we can also have them come to the Parks Committee instead of our council. You know, it matters whatever's convenient for them. I want to do what is going to make it work. Whatever's going to make it work, that's the process that we're going to do. But that, thank you, Jim. That, you know, I wasn't thinking that.
That's okay.
You know, because he mentioned coming to council to me. And so I said, sure, you know, so. Jane?
Yeah, they really should start working on an ordinance for the tree ordinance. That's what you can do for Parks and Rec, and a sample ordinance.
Well,
Because
okay.
you're gonna have to have that.
There is somebody, and I guess I wasn't specific about that. He gave me somebody at the PA State Center. It's the PA Extension Services, Penn State. And that's what she does. Her job is to develop ordinances. And so we're going to get her advice on how to do that. So that would definitely be a Parks and Rec thing.
We did have a shade tree commission, I want to say it was abolished probably in
2004.
2004? Okay, well, you know, if we want trees and revitalized, we have to have it.
Maybe already be an ordinance in place here someplace for shade tree commission, you could also use that as well.
Okay, that would be, in fact, that would be a very good idea, but we can also get involved with Penn State to help us. Kathy?
Yeah, I just want to say I appreciate Jane defending herself to everybody, but one of the things in LGA, when you first go to that, the newly elected officials, they tell you that when you become a public official, that you pretty much, people can say whatever they want about you. And I think I could sit here every time and read letters and say this isn't true and that isn't true. And in your attempt to defend yourself, you slandered me. And I'm not going to defend myself, but I think we all need to treat other people how we want to be treated. And I didn't appreciate you putting my name in that. And
I'm going to be the way they have been treated.
I have no.
Okay, you know, I don't want to get into personal things. And anything else? Yeah, we are in new business.
It's just a reminder, this goes ahead of time, August the 6th is National Night Out, and we'll be moving PreCouncil meeting for another day. But the reason I'm bringing it out now is if something is scheduled, say by the engineer to bring someone in that day or close to it, you might know well in advance to reschedule.
I thought we already, is that already on the calendar to change it? I don't
It may
know.
well be.
That's what we were told a couple
Okay, okay, I thought we had taken that into consideration, so, when can you just double check to make sure that we did, I don't know, I must have pulled my calendar out or something to work. Okay, any other new business? Okay, no other new business? Are there any visitors who wish to speak? If you step up to the podium, you have 2 minutes.
Tony Barbarino, 711 Main Avenue. Jane, I find it funny, you just want to twist everything to suit your life. Now, you said you're going to come here, you want to clear the air, right? So I'm going to clear the air, okay? You said that the mayor had hissy because his son, you're saying his son wasn't recommended for the job, is that what you just said?
Yes.
You read that right? You're wrong. I recommended his son for the job.
Not the
So,
first time.
yes, the first time around, it was the first year that you decided to get involved on the hiring of public works.
I have a resolution.
No, wrong,
I have
wrong.
a resolution.
Yeah, you had resumes and none. Right, I recommended him,
I have a
okay? You nixed it, you nixed it, you saw it. That's the truth. She got it.
Okay, that's enough.
I have a resolution and all. That can be brought out here too.
Okay.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, I don't think so, John.
Jane.
You just did not throw it out.
Yeah. I didn't throw it out.
Okay, you know
When we
what?
talk outside, we'll talk.
I know you didn't throw it out.
I didn't try to, that's right.
First of all, this is the way it goes. Jane Antone. The visitor speaks for 2 minutes.
That's right.
You can then answer them, and that's how it goes. Okay, I don't want to see back and forth. That applies to both.
That's fine.
Okay. So you've spoken. If you went back and forth, if you could do a quick comment. Hold on 1 second, Greg. You're done commenting, then do a quick comment.
Yeah, no, I have
Okay.
in minutes.
Frank Saylor, 146 North Bellevue. I just have 3 quick things. I'll just put them out there and I appreciate a response. Can somebody explain to me the lobbying for profit? The second piece was with the tree vitalize. I think part of it was having people certified as tree tenders, which, if memory serves me correctly, there were 4 people, including myself, that volunteered to pay for that themselves when we were looking at that grant money. And the third question, probably the most important, is why are we spending the taxpayers' money to have the solicitor write an ordinance which shall amend an ordinance that we have no way of enforcing at all? We have no idea how to measure the decibels. Nobody has a decibel meter. And why are we spending money to introduce an ordinance, to amend an ordinance that nobody knows anything about or how to enforce?
Okay, a number of years ago, it was decided by council, it was recommended to us and said that it was a good thing to go in and kind of go and get the trees out of Memorial Park. And so we received about $18,000, $19,000 for that, but it was something that was recommended to us, something about thinning trees. And so we had done that. And what Jeff told me, he said they're here to preserve trees, and now we receive money for cutting down trees. Okay, but that was something that was done. Maybe about it was when Connie Flasher was here, so I would say that was probably about 3 or 4 years ago. But at this point, he said that's done. We're moving forward. They're not going to hold that against us this year. Okay, and as for Tree Vitalize, we had enough certified tree tenders to submit the grant at that point. Now, we didn't get anybody certified, I'm guessing at this point, because we didn't get the grant, but we had enough tree tenders. My neighbor was a tree tender, and so we submitted her name because we needed people at that time who were already certified, okay? And because we had already certified, we didn't have to get anyone else involved. Now, if we go into this, we have to look to see how many people we need, and we we have to get that done. So if at that point you still want to do it, and this is all going to be done in open meetings, not in closed meetings, then you can say, hey, I want to be a tree tender. Okay, so that is not something that's off the table, but we did have enough for this particular, the Tree Vitalize program that we applied for in the fall. And then every ordinance needs to be looked at by our solicitor. I mean, he is our legal representative, and he has to make sure that our ordinances, which when we pass them are law, so we have to make sure that these are ordinances that are acceptable from a law standpoint. Okay, and this particular ordinance, evidently we had a complaint about some recreational activity that was too loud. And we believe that, how can you keep quiet a football game or a baseball game, from the neighbors? Okay, I can understand if it's your neighbor, causing all this noise, but no, I mean, everybody knows that we have parks, and the parks, such as Memorial Park, you're going to have baseball games. It's going to be louder than usual. You're going to have at Gillette Field, you're going to have games, and that's going to be louder than usual. And the same thing with our football field. And that's the reason for that ordinance. Am I correct on that?
Yes.
Okay, so that was the reason for that. It was just protecting our recreational activities. Any other visitors who wish to speak?
My voice is really hoarse, and I'm sorry if you can't hear me.
I can hear you.
DiBattista, 525 Orchard. It's a bummer that we didn't get the Tree Vitalize program before, but I'm really happy that we're working towards getting it now. I think it's a really, really good step. So, if you look at other towns that actually went into the Tree Vitalize program, you see a lot more development and a lot more other grants willing to kind of commit to helping that borough or that town go. So that's wonderful. As far as the noise goes, it was actually something years ago with the DC Murphy building. There was an event, and people had called and said that something was too loud. So I think it really needs to be more of a set standard. And if we don't have a decibel meter, I think we need to get one. And I think if there's a call for, I understand your thing with football games and stuff, but
You can't with football.
I totally get it. But you can't just leave it up to somebody's opinion as to what's too loud and what isn't. I mean, you kind of end up in a situation where it's just somebody's opinion as to what is too loud and what's not, and I don't think that that's fair. There needs to be a set standard. Thirdly, I zoned out when you were ranting, so if you could please reiterate what it was that the committee that was on and who was my friend that I helped in that committee, because I literally zoned out.
Okay, let me explain.
Please do, because when something's going on like that, you lose me.
Okay, is that all? Are you done with, because I'll explain that.
Yes, please.
Okay, I believe what she said, there was a committee, part of VDAC, and we had bids for the design architects for treescape. And there were 3 companies that produced, that submitted bills for the treescape.
Okay.
And one of them was somebody that everybody knew on the committee, and was part of the committee, Brad, his particular company, CDC. And that particular company was $3,000 or $4,000 more than the 2 other companies. And that's what she's referring to.
I will say one thing. Whenever I was on that committee, I actually came to one meeting and was not able to continue after that because it didn't work my work schedule. So I'm very sorry to correct you, but I had actually no part in voting or deciding on who was hired anywhere, because after that first meeting, I was running a business at the time, and the meetings basically interfered with everything. So I told them that there was not really a big chance I could participate after that. I asked if they wanted to email me for opinions that they could, but I definitely was not part of any decision-making that had to do with Brad's company.
The record is corrected. Thank you for correcting.
You are welcome.
Any other visitors who wish to speak? No visitors wish to speak? Thank you. We are, at this time, we're going to go into an executive session concerning a personality issue.
Yeah, I want 5 minutes.
I want 5 minutes. Okay, we will have a 5-minute break, and so then, whoever's here will take part in executive session.
Good try.
Hey, guys, come on.
No threat, no threat. I asked you if you wanted to talk outside. How's that a threat, Jane? Make it, twist it again. Twist it again, Jane. Get over it.
Okay, yeah, you can do the announcement that,
While we're in executive session, we also discussed a litigation matter, as well as personnel.
should I do this letter or should I wait till council? Okay, but please remind me. No.
I won't forget it. I was just trying, because you've been wanting to read it, so if I go on to it, I'll know.
You sure?
I'm not ready.
Okay. I know, both of us are like, this should have been done last time,
Yeah.
you know? So, I'm not questioning her ability.
No.
It's just will she remember, you know, because I forget, so. It's only the remembering part, it's not her ability. Okay, I know it's gonna be an adjournment at this point in time.
I have one more, Brian.
Can you make it quick?
Yes, it was about the roads and alleys. Our mayor also made a mistake about the roads and alleys. He said we never used bond money. August of 2003, $405,000 bond for alley A, B, C, D, and E.
And that is true. Bond money was used for roads and for alleys, because I was in the audience at the time, so I do know that, so I would back you up on that. Okay. Is there a motion to adjourn? Second.